Picture this. There is a place where there are more polar bears than people, where it's illegal to die, and where Bill Gates and George Soros are planning to control the whole food supply.
Because there are even more bears than people here on Spitsbergen.
They're all lies. But what's more interesting for me than the myths and the conspiracy theories is to understand what those say about us, humans, and to understand how they spread online. So I went to see for myself. And what I will tell you about Svalbard now potentially will make you doubt about anything that you see online. Okay, let's start with the big one. The claim that it's literally illegal to die there. You may have seen this on blogs and probably even on YouTube. But then when you look at what the governor of Svalbard actually says about it, you start seeing the first cracks. Because it's not illegal to die. You can die, it can happen. But you cannot be buried there. And the reason why may sound strange, but it actually makes a lot of sense. In the 1950s, the residents discovered that the bodies in their cemetery weren't decomposing. The permafrost was acting like a natural freezer. And when they exhumed the victims of the 1918 Spanish flu, they found the virus itself, the Spanish flu, being preserved within the tissue of the bodies. So the reality really isn't a dystopian law, it's more of a compassionate and practical healthcare policy. So do you see how a piece of public administration becomes it's illegal to die? Because it creates this really big curiosity gap. A sort of information vacuum that makes your brain think, I need to know about this, what is going on? And that gets the click. But here is the irony. While the internet is obsessed with this myth of eternal preservation, Svalbard's permafrost is actually melting faster than many other areas in the world.
The Arctic, it's warming at 3 to 4 times the rate of the rest of the planet.
So the myth isn't just a lie, it ends up being a cover, a distraction for a much, much bigger problem. And this pattern of taking a grain of truth and twisting it into some sort of high-stake narrative for the click isn't unique at all. In fact, it's used even more on the one thing that everyone fears the most in the Arctic. The polar bear. And the fact that in Svalbard, according to the internet and the blogs you see online, there are more polar bears than people. Which is an incredible statistic if you think about it. It makes you think of this far outpost where humans try to survive in the presence of these huge, massive predators. You can even find precise, exact data that seem to back it up. There are 3,000 polar bears, but just 2,700 people. And that, my friends, is another lie. Because yes, it's true that there are 3,000 polar bears, but this is in the whole Barents Sea region. But also, when you actually look at the official data, the situation flips completely. While there are 2,700 humans, there are just about 264 polar bears. So actually humans outnumber polar bears 10 to 1. And so the question comes natural. Why does the lie spread more than the actual truth? And the answer is because your brain is hardwired for it. It's a psychological principle called the negativity bias. Our ancestors survived paying close attention to threats, and our brains evolved prioritizing scary information over safe information. And so humans outnumber bears isn't that scary, but bears outnumber humans, that's a threat. And social media algorithms, they don't care about truth, they care about engagement. And algorithms have learned to feed that part of your brain that is still scanning the horizon for predators. And the fear for the polar bear leads directly to the next myth of Svalbard. The idea of this untamed, far outpost where people have to carry a gun to survive. But then again, the reality is less of a Wild West and more just regulations and policy. The actual law says that when you go outside the settlement and then you see those signs when you're required to have the means to scare off the polar bears.
And usually, if you do kill a bear, you're almost presumed to be arrested already.
Okay.
So if you kill a bear, even if you are like trying to keep yourself safe, you're kind of put under arrest already. Even if because
until they decide on
until they decide
the verdict.
Yeah, but it's not like they're not going to put you in jail, but then you can't leave the island until the investigation is over. Yeah, you have to justify yourself, basically.
Of course, yeah.
Because it is a highly protected animal.
But what if you are inside a town? Well, it's actually illegal to have your rifle loaded. And actually, you cannot carry a rifle in any sort of way inside a shopping mall or restaurants or cafes. But what I find interesting is to see how we consume places online. Because I've asked people around, and many people told me I would never go there, but I would definitely watch content that is about Svalbard just to see what it is like. And so what we see here is just another form of living an experience vicariously, which is something that we do, for example, when we watch reaction videos or gameplay or content where we see other people doing things and where we somehow co-participate emotionally while not doing the thing. And while this sort of dynamic might be really normal, it's interesting to see how the media leverage this kind of dynamics to transform Svalbard, a place like Svalbard, into this sort of survival theme park. And so if Svalbard isn't actually this death trap, this wild frontier, how is it like to be there on the ground? The reality I found was more modern, more international.
Chicken burger for breakfast is probably 40 euro or something.
And far more surprising than the myths themselves. I had a faster internet connection here, 78 degrees north, than what I have here in the south of Italy, my hometown. I mean, that connection also comes a surprisingly normal social life. I found that even Bumble works there at the top of the world. I managed to go on a date at a husky cafe. When I say husky cafe, I mean literally, which is kind of cool. Also, a dental crown popped out. And so while people told me that there wasn't a dentist in town, I rushed to the hospital to check, and
There is a dentist here, and he could fix it. It's just that I came too late.
it's just to give you the idea that it's a modern place. Those people living the 21st century. So it's really not just a set for an adventure story. But while all those things sound really normal, there are some interesting exceptions. Just as you cannot be buried there, you cannot also give birth. And I mean, it's not that it's illegal or anything, it's just that in case of complications while you're giving birth, the local hospital infrastructures may not be equipped to do anything about it. So usually if you're expecting, say, 3 weeks before it's supposed to happen, you just fly to Norway's mainland and you do it there. So there are a few quirks to this community, which is also really international. There are over 50 nationalities there. And this is also because Svalbard is a visa-free territory. You don't need a visa to be there. And so the question that I had is, why those interesting things that are all true, why they don't spread as much as the lies do? Well, the short answer is that there is not enough drama in those things. As we've seen, something on the internet to be able to grab the attention needs to have some sort of negative connotation, or maybe it needs to take advantage of this feeling of making you feel victimized. And so making things to be based on very weak arguments and just twisting the truth becomes the norm. And one good example of adding unnecessary drama where there is no need for it is the conspiracy theory around the global seed vault. The story is that the global elites have built this fortress to control the world's food supply. It's a terrifying thought, and also just another performance. Because the reality is that there are over 1,700 other seed vaults all around the world, with the Svalbard vault being just the ultimate backup. Because it's far off, it's cold, but it's still kind of accessible. It has a lot of things to it. Because if you think about it, other seed vaults around the world may be exposed to natural disasters or wars or a freezer that stops working because of a power cut. Literally. And so it's good to have this freezer up there where no one goes. And I have to admit, I was partly captivated by that myth too. And then I realized how extra the internet is about it. Please don't get me wrong about one thing. It's a very important project. There is a very important rationale behind it. And it was actually useful at least once, because apparently Syria had to go there to recover some of their seeds, so it actually did the job. And that project is also important because it's one of the few international projects that really stands. Think of like the Olympics, something that all the countries come together and they do together. So there is also a nice symbolic meaning to it. But it's just that the internet builds those crazy stories about Soros and Bill Gates and Monsanto around it. The ever-present George Soros. This pattern repeats everywhere. Tactics are always the same. We have curiosity gaps like it's illegal to die here, negativity bias like the polar bear's threat, and confirmation bias around the global seed vault conspiracy theory. These aren't random stories. They are the output of a system designed to weaponize your brain's reaction for profit. And so we circle back to what I was saying in the beginning, which is this story isn't much about knowing Svalbard, but it's more about knowing how your emotions are systematically targeted. And frankly, in a way, this video itself might be an example of those system of things in action. I mean, starting from the title and the thumbnail and this whole feeling throughout the video of you getting to know or getting to understand a bit better how you've been victimized by the internet and exposed to this threat that is out there. All those things, they probably have something in common with what keeps you scrolling on your phone and what makes you click on things. With the only difference of now you being made aware of the strings being pulled. Just so you know, but I appreciate you making it to this point. Thank you.